That was 10 years in the planning.
It put Dallas on the map. It made Dallas, Texas. We have our state fairs henceforth from that date, and everybody looks forward to the state fairs in October.
Famous old Ranger Captain Hughes raises the flag, the Lone Star flag of Texas.
362 pounds. Now watch it. Let's see. Hey, there goes the winner right now. Look at him. By golly. Here you are, Sheriff. Help yourself.
In 1936, the country was just coming out of the Depression. The Centennial had a tremendous impact on the local economy, focusing national attention on the Southwest. Its magnificent grounds and buildings would become a lasting legacy.
Let's go, the Midway. We're on the Midway. Pretty girls, funny shows, thrilling rides.
Without a doubt, entertainment was the key to the success of the Centennial, whether it was on the Midway or in the exhibit halls.
The exhibits were marvelous, and of course, to a 9.5-year-old, it was quite a lot of excitement out there all the time. One of them that was quite interesting was the large dinosaurs. I know that they had in front of the Sinclair Oil Museum exhibit, and those big, huge dinosaurs would fight with each other. They had them motorized, and they would growl and fight, and that was quite an impressive thing to us.
Gladys Pulley remembers another exhibit that was also a hit with the kids.
They had a ranger house out there with an exhibit, and it was like the Law West of the Pecos building. You know, you had an old porch out on the front of it, and you went in, and you got your picture taken, you got a badge, and you were honorary junior ranger. It says, like a good ranger, I'll be brave, honest, obedient, and always keep my eyes open for danger.
All of these are done in Art Deco. They all have the date and things with the Texas Centennial on them.
Charles Cavanaugh has collected over 3,500 pieces of Centennial memorabilia. He, too, was 9 years old when the Centennial made its mark on Dallas. Cavanaugh fondly remembers a place called Tiny Town.
I had my picture taken with one of the midgets there. They had their own little town put together. There were some 78 or so, but I had my picture taken with one of the ladies called Mae West. And a 9-year-old having a picture taken with a midget called Mae West was, of course, I didn't know who Mae West was at the time, but it was really a nice experience.
Martha Albee remembers going to the Centennial with her Sunday school class. A few years later, she won the freckle contest at the fair.
My friend urged me to enter the contest. I didn't want to do it, but she convinced me that because the prize was going to be free tickets to every ride on the Midway, I did it, and I won. And we had a very good time that day. Very good time. In fact, I guess that's one day that the freckles paid off.
Martha's mother, Emma Cooper, has her own memories of winning a contest at the fair. In 1931, she entered an Afghan in the competition.
It was made by my mother, and it has been my very pride and joy. So when the fair came along, I was like all little country girls and Waco girls who come to live in Dallas, and I entered it in the fair and got the first prize, and that was in 1931, and I've enjoyed it ever since and have taken good care of it.
During those days, a trip to the fair demanded some pretty fancy clothes.
It was like a reception, because everybody would dress up and
come out. You can tell how dressed up they are.
And then we would go into the foods building, and that was worthwhile, because they would give you a little bitty sample of a certain food. But I don't care, it tasted better than if you'd buy a whole tub full.
Big Tex showed up on the fair scene for the first time in 1952. For decades, his famous howdy greeted fairgoers thanks to a man named Jim Lowe.
I started as the voice of Big Tex in 1954.
He remembers when Big Tex was Santa Claus?
Yeah, Santa Claus in Hearn, Texas put him up. The Chamber of Commerce did. I think it was 50 or 51 or maybe 49. They had him 3 or 4 years, and they had him in the town square as a Santa Claus, had him all dressed up. And for some reason, they gave up on that concept, and they sold the framework. The State Fair bought the Santa Claus and brought him up here and turned him into Big Tex. And maybe kind of retained part of the soul of Santa Claus when he got here.
There were corny dogs with a lot of mustard, the nutty bars, ice cream bars, and cotton candy.
Ann Minor's childhood memories of the fair aren't a lot different from her mother's, with one major exception. When Frankie Andrews was young, the State Fair was still segregated. Until the 1960s, African Americans could attend the fair only one day during the October run.
Since we didn't know anything but that one day, it was real nice for us then. But it'd be so many people out there at one day, seemed like it was going to be a stomping.
The fair boasted a lot of events that appealed to individual interests, like the livestock competitions and the cooking contests. The latest cars were always on exhibit at the fair every year. So were the latest technological advancements. Many Texans saw color TV for the first time while visiting the fair in the late 50s. Many fairgoers lined up to make their first long-distance call at an exhibit sponsored by the local phone company. But few attractions captured the hearts of fairgoers over the years like the Midway.
I think as a young person, naturally, one of my treats going to the fair was going to the Midway. And the Midway always caught my eye because of the gaudy canvas paintings at the sideshows. And I always had an interest in going into the sideshows and seeing these interesting oddities in the world. And one of the oddities was this fellow who was billed as the fattest man in the world.
My sister would take us when we were small, my sister and my mother. They would take us out to the fair. And we'd be in Kittyland. We had a lot of fun and everything, but some of the kids were older and they got to go to the Midway. I see that big Midway sign up there, and I couldn't go. I couldn't go. She wouldn't let me go. And so finally, after a while, I got a chance to get out of there, out of Kittyland and get to the Midway. And I enjoyed the shows, the side shows. Some of them that we really couldn't get in, but you could sneak, you know, go around the back of the tent or whatever and sort of peek inside. The ladies who were doing the the belly dance and stuff. It was funny, though.
It was a great thrill to invite your girlfriends to go on the roller coaster, because when it made the sharp turns, you automatically, if you had your arm around them, you got to hug your girlfriend.
The individual remembrances of fairgoers may be unique, but they are no doubt duplicated in the memories of hundreds of thousands of Texans. They share a belief that the State Fair of Texas is indeed the biggest and best in the country. And as Time magazine once said of the Texas State Fair, the more it changes, the more it stays the same.
a car to do